I had everything that I would hopefully be able to survive with for a while in a large bag.
I started suffering from depression in New Zealand.
A
Yeah.
shock for me actually living with the tribes was that how they will kill anything really with no emotion.
Even if you don't have a garden, you can grow a window box with some lettuce and some herbs. And
I just felt so strongly that there was something so deep inside, a connection that we've been missing as European people for a long, long time.
Welcome to another episode of the Food Forest podcast. And together we don't have one guest, but two guests, Laurie and Dan. Laurie and Dan, actually a beautiful love story. They met in 2016 while working as gardeners, and they shared a strong passion for growing wilderness and self-sufficiency. Together, they established Freedom Food Forest, or better, Freedom Forest, sorry, a 3-acre food forest and permaculture garden project in the UK, where they try to do everything as off-grid as possible. And they have a very cool backstory, but I'm gonna let them talk all about it. Hi, Laurie and Dan. How are you doing?
yeah, great. Thank you.
Very
Hi.
good, thank you.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
No, with pleasure. When I read about you and read about your story, I really see the story of the hero with 1,000 faces, like the famous book by Joseph Campbell, where they talk about the protagonist of the story that like lives in a place and then is like challenged by something they realized in their lives. They're like doing something that they don't feel in line with, and then something calls them to action. Something says, okay, go on an adventure. Like, for example, the guys from the Lord of the Rings went on a great adventure. Harry Potter was called on an adventure. Like, it's like every movie, the main character is called on an adventure. And you also did that. It's you came from like maybe more standard life. So, well, this is not what I want to do. You go on an adventure, and from what I read, it's a really cool adventure you did. Then you meet all kind of people. You have to conquer your inner dragon mostly, and then you come back as a transformed person. Tell me all about how that went for you.
Do you want to start, Dan?
Yeah, I guess so. So the journey began for me, I guess, growing up as a kid in the city. I always felt very isolated and almost introverted in a way. Just growing up in the society, it was very overwhelming for me to be around so many people that you don't know every day, constantly thrust into situations like that around so many strangers. And I went through life and school and college and always had struggles with the kind of like social side of things, I guess, just in the way that we're taught we should interact and socialize and, recreation. Um, and my dad kind of really wanted me to have a career into the kind of military. And I didn't want to do that, but I kind of went in the middle grounds and joined the UK Ministry of Defence at that time, repairing military aircraft, which I did an apprenticeship, and I worked for quite a few years after that, but it really wasn't, as you say, aligned with my core values that I had. I didn't like that I was
Yeah, yeah.
deporting around the world, which I thought were probably illegal, to be honest with you, and knowing that these
Mhm.
machines were being used to hurt and kill innocent people.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
it is
led me
probably
to go,
handy that
right,
you know how to fix a helicopter. If you can fix a helicopter, you can
oh,
probably also fix a
definitely,
car. So it's like always good to have you around in case we're in trouble.
I can fix lawnmowers as well. um, so yeah, after that, I was like, during that time, actually, I was like, I just felt so dead inside, and I just felt so lonely there in these big, big hangars, cold and grey and dark. And I decided one day it had always been a passion of mine seeing documentaries on indigenous people living in the rainforest, still living a complete traditional life in remote places. So I spent the following months doing research on different tribes and as much information as I could get on how I could reach them by myself. So I decided to quit my job and go go and find these people to hopefully they would accept me there to live with them and learn about their lives and just immerse myself in a different reality.
So you just knocked on their proverbial door.
But yeah, I guess there was a lot of risk involved. Now being older, I would probably be more concerned about doing that. But back at the time,
Oh
I
my
was
God.
maybe 22, 23. So I was just like, nothing's stopping me really.
God, so you literally took a plane to where was it? Was it Borneo or Vanuatu? And then you like, okay, there's a tribe living there. I'm just gonna take my backpack, walk through the jungle, and hopefully hope they don't kill you, but accept you and let them live with you, basically.
Basically, yeah. I had everything that I would hopefully be able to survive with for a while in a large bag, and I would go to the nearest place that I could get transport to, and then I would have to find local people from there, maybe with a boat or guides that can take me further into the jungle to find the tribes that I was trying to find, basically. Unfortunately, everyone I found were always also loving and caring, even though they maybe couldn't
Oh, lovely.
understand initially why I was there because we couldn't speak the same language often. But I think they could understand through my how I was trying to
Body
express
language.
myself that I was there because I, with love, and I wanted to, experience their beautiful lives, basically.
My God, that's so crazy. And you, Laurie, did you took a similar adventure or?
Mine was quite different in some respects. So again, my younger years and school life was kind of similar to Dan, just never really feeling like you fitted in, and that just that everyday life just didn't feel right, and it didn't feel what I was made for. But I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing either. And then I think it was in 2008, I moved to New Zealand, and I lived in New Zealand for 7 years, and that was kind of chasing the dream of the good life. By then, I realized that that was
All
something
right.
that was within me.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I moved out there with my then partner, and yeah, I lived there for 7 years, and I had a plot of land that was over an acre, and that had a section of native bush with it, and that's where I started growing food. And I also that's where I was first also introduced to permaculture as well. I ended up having a group of friends that
Mm.
were very much involved in permaculture. One of them had an amazing permaculture garden, and I always remember one of the stories that this lady, her name was Katie, used to tell me was that when they bought this plot of land, which became their forest and their home, the first thing they did when they bought the land was plant the fruit trees. And in my still
Yeah.
very what word would you use? My very systemized mind, I was just thinking, well, that's madness. Like, surely you'd want to build your house first and get on with your house, and like they're worrying about
It
planting
takes
fruit
longer for a
trees.
fruit tree to grow than a house to build.
And I was very lucky to actually work for this lady for a good couple of years in her home. And I didn't realize all the time I was in New Zealand how relevant everything I was learning. It's only since I've come away that I realized I was in a complete sponge mode. I was just absorbing information
Mm,
all the time, and how relevant that was
nice.
going to be for the change that happened in my life unexpectedly, how relevant all of that information now is for the life I'm living now, and how it's all
Yeah, yeah.
transformed. And then
That's amazing. Yeah.
no, it was really
I'm
amazing.
wondering, so you both went on this hero's journey. Most of the time, it's like I think what you both kind of said, you're living a life and you're feeling something's off, but there needs to be like this last drop that makes the bucket overflow. It's like say that you decide, okay, now I'm going to book that plane ticket, or now I'm going to do this or to that, really embark on that adventure, on that journey, on that um yeah, flight, or wherever you go. What was that drop for both of you? Do you remember like really that moment that you said, okay, now I'm gonna do it? Like that determinism.
I think for me, I was sitting inside this dark room, and we were waiting. There was a lot of waiting between when flights were coming in and out, because at this time I was doing the flight testing of the aircraft that were going out, and I was just wasting so much time just sat there. And there was a whiteboard, and I remember going up with a pen, and I don't even remember thinking about it. I just wrote freedom awaits on this board and drew a picture of a palm tree. And
Oh
then
my God.
spent a few days just looking at the picture, and then one day I was just like, that's it. That I just decided instantly. That's it.
Yeah.
I just decided, so I was doing it.
And I think,
And what gave you that bravery? Because it takes some balls to do a thing like that. Like, not only for yourself, but probably you're thinking about your dad that was gonna probably be furious that you left his beloved military only to talk about one thing.
I think for me, I just felt so strongly that there was something so deep inside, a connection that we've been missing as European people for a long, long time. A type of connection which has been almost beat out of us by the system over hundreds of years. Um,
Mm.
and I just felt like there was more, and I had to find that
mm,
to kind of
Yeah.
save myself in a way.
mm.
Yeah, you just could not ignore your inner voice anymore. That's strong. How was that for you, Laurie? Like, what
Yeah,
was
I
the
think
drop that made your bucket overflow?
for me, I knew I wanted something different, something more. And just normal life just never sat well with me. And yeah, I still at that stage when I moved to New Zealand didn't know entirely what it was I was looking for, but I knew I was fed up with the system I was caught up in right then. And so for a couple of years, it took a couple of years to engineer it and get visas and save money and all of that. And so that became the focus of life. And so it gave you that thing that you were working
Mm.
towards to kind of keep you going.
And then the rest became supportable. The things you otherwise like hated to do, you're like, okay, well, look, I have this foresight in 3 years. I'm going to do this, so I'm gonna do it with pleasure. All this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it helps you stick at the things that you don't want to be doing because you've got an end goal to work
Yes.
towards. So yeah, that kept me going for a good while. And then, then I was out there and I had a great time. And it was only sort of later on that I realized that I needed to come back to the UK. Well, I didn't again with that, I didn't even realize why I had to come back to the UK. But now the story
And
is
that's the thing that
unfolding.
I'm very interested in. You are both. You went on a hero's journey. You went to a totally different universe. There is a point during your adventure that you like conquered your inner dragon. Like in movies, it's like mostly like focused on the outer dragon they have to defeat, the bad guy, like James Bond fighting the villain. But like there is always between the lines, they're actually transforming something inside themselves. The dragon is like a symbol of like their inner dragon. Um, when did you feel like, okay, my journey here is complete and now I have to go back to the real world? Because you went back to the UK, and I can totally relate because I also went on this journey for 5 years and away from Belgium, my home country, and then after 5 years also like decide, okay, now I'm ready. So when
Yeah.
when did you feel that?
For me, like I was actually completely unexplainably, it felt I started suffering from depression
Hmm.
in New Zealand. And I didn't understand why, because on the outset it looked like I had the perfect life and it felt like I had the perfect life, but I was struggling. And so eventually that transpired for me is that I felt I needed to be closer to my family again. And what I ultimately realized in the long run was that I didn't have the emotional support in my partner that I needed out there being so far away from my family. And whilst I don't want to blame him, that sounds like very much like I'm blaming him because I realize it's what
No?
I needed and that's not his fault, what I needed. But at the
Yeah.
time, that was all the understanding I had. And so I came back to the UK to be closer to my family. And then this whole other life transformed very quickly as soon as I got back here. And yeah, and then
Beautiful.
I
Mm.
realized that everything that I had done in New Zealand was supposed to happen exactly as it did to get me to the point that, I'm now at now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it magical how things can unfold? And then if your life would be a movie, then it's like you realize that, well, being away from your family, you realize how important it is, and like, okay, like if there was one thing you had to learn, maybe that was it. But it was not only that thing; it was like an entire
Mm.
luggage,
Mm.
carry on your back of permaculture and all that stuff that we're gonna delve into right away. Um, but before, of course, I'm gonna listen to, we're gonna listen to Dan. Yeah, like what
Okay.
what kind of crazy things did you learn? Did you learn to speak their languages? How long did you live with the tribe? Did you make friends? Did you fall in love? Did you learn local wisdom, both like technical and spiritual?
Well, there's a lot of questions, but
I
I
know.
initially it was about just the absolute awe and the wonder of seeing these people on documentaries just living a free life in the forest, going out hunting and building their own houses and being together all the time. So that was the initial reason why I wanted to go and experience that. And very quickly after that, I began to realize that actually their life, I pictured that it would just be hunting every day and nearly all the food would be from hunting. But I then began to realize that what looks like the forest around the villages is actually trees that have been purposely planted over generations, fruit trees and other useful trees that the indigenous people plant. And actually, you have to travel very far away, maybe an hour walking before you get to the forest, which is more natural. And
Mm.
for hunting, where they do primarily hunting. And I realized that actually the hunting is a part of the life, but most of the food is actually coming from the gardening and the growing of the trees they do there. There's so
Well,
many.
it's easier to pick a fruit than to kill an animal and like chase it and whatever.
That's it
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. And that, at that time, I had no idea about food forests and things like that, or even permaculture. But I guess it was beautiful to see and stay with people who are living fully self-sufficiently. I would be out wearing just no clothes other than just something covering my penis, basically. Going gardening with a machete every day in taro gardens, and then off out hunting and learning about weaving baskets and plants.
Having rice paddies.
Yeah, rice paddy harvesting, just living the life every day. I wasn't trying to. Um, I wasn't filming them and trying to be separate. I was just trying to literally be a part of everyday life
Mhm.
to take it all in. And it ended up over a 4-year period. I came away a few times and I went to stay with different tribes who live different lifestyles. Um, and I was given land in places and given local names and asked if I want to stay and marry someone there. Um, but for me, I felt in my heart I've experienced something that I wanted to experience. It reminded me actually people living a more natural life are very similar to me. The men, they don't have very big egos. They're not loud and shouty, and people are very quiet and respectful. And um, how you would imagine an introvert, which is how I've always feel like I am. So I felt
Mhm.
very, very at home there, more at home there than I do with local people. Even it's
Yeah.
In our
interesting.
society, yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was lovely for me to experience that, how I feel and how I naturally am.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And are they free?
are they free?
Because you were looking for freedom and you always imagined them as being free, but are they really free? Are they freer than us?
I would say they're freer than us, but also they're not freer than us now
Mhm.
in some ways because they many communities have had the interference of Christianity, missionaries. The government is one of the main problems with logging and exploiting the forest as well.
Mhm.
Um, and many of the communities over generations now have, with the combined belief of Christianity and the pressures of the government logging around the surrounding areas, they're now the younger generation are the elders kind of want the children to go now to the local boarding schools and they want them to go because they feel like the traditional life is
Yeah.
God.
finished. It's
So
very
it's
sad.
very much
Very,
losing
very
the
sad.
traditional
Oh.
values, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's beginning to dwindle, but that's something that you still hold
Yeah,
really, a lot of passion for, isn't
I
it?
do. And I've from living in different places, I now experience a pattern that world governments use on indigenous people to slowly take away their freedoms over a period of time.
Oh.
Um,
Mm.
And they do
with
that by
the end,
taking the land, don't
with
they?
the end result, yeah, basically of removing their
Makes me
right.
want to cry hearing this.
Yes,
It's
it's
terrible.
very sad, very sad. But also there is hope.
And are they freer of mind than we are?
Definitely freer of mind, and
Mm.
still freer in the fact that, um, for example, in Borneo, if they go and clear an area,
Of land.
an area of land for growing or whatever they want to use it for, they will own it. So that luckily they have large areas. One time I was there, I joined a project to GPS all of the old traditional sites and areas where there used to be villages to build up a large area which the government can no longer enter and do logging.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So there's definitely hope, but I think the young people now have a very more modern lifestyle because the boarding schools they are forced to go to boarding schools in Borneo, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just shown Western movies, and so they kind of are being almost indoctrinated to having
Yeah.
shame in their traditional life, but seeing what we're doing as being
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
in Europe.
And if you talk about their freer of mind, how does this translate? Uh, uh, wh- what did you learn from their mindset or soul set?
I guess I learned that the old people who are still living a very traditional life, and I don't want to paint a bad picture because there are still a lot of places living very remote who are still living a very traditional life. Um, I would describe it as almost there's something that makes them indigenous. You could have the younger generation who's the same as talking to someone from the city in Belgium, but the grandma or the granddad, they still have something very special, which it's a complete innocence in their eyes.
Mm.
It's a loving and an intrigue, and they'll do anything they can to make you feel welcome and feed you constantly and make you feel loved and
Mm.
wanted like you're a family member. The love I've experienced is just so beautiful, and the human connection was something so lovely for me. So for example, something I loved the most was if you're sitting down in the evening just on the floor inside the hut, there will always be someone touching you. They might have their arm on you or their leg on you, and just to
Mm.
feel that connection does
Yeah.
so much. You stop wanting to look at a film or a TV. Like
Yeah.
it just makes you feel
Yeah,
just alive.
real
It's
human
lovely.
connection,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
that must be so powerful for mental health as well,
Mm.
really, as I see it.
Definitely. Yeah. Wow. No, that's beautiful. Did you fall in love with someone during your years?
There was a few nice people. I tried to make the intention not to get into anything serious when I was there because yeah, I wanted to not be at
You
that time not have a major commitment like that. Um,
and Dan's actually very committed to his own family back here as well, and that's
mm,
something which is massively important to you. And I
yeah,
think from what he's explained to me since you probably had the realization that it was never going to be forever. Would you say,
mm.
is that right?
Yeah. I always felt a strong connection to my native land here in England, and
Yeah.
feel very passionately about I don't feel that I should be pushed out to go and live in another country because
Yeah.
of unjust laws
Mm.
and oppression, really. So I felt like I'm going to take what I learn and whatever way possible try to bring some of that back here.
Yeah. And that's what a true hero does. Coming back from the hero's journey, they're transformed, and then they bring that wisdom to all the the villagers that just stayed at home and are not as brave as you are to go to New Zealand or to Borneo or Vanuatu. And so that's exactly what you are doing right now. And when did you feel, Dan, that this is the right time to go back home? When was it like, okay, now this is complete and I feel that I can now go back?
I think when maybe the fourth or fifth time I had returned back to Borneo, and I saw that a lot of changes were happening very quickly, and I also began to realize that a lot of things are changing in back home as well, and it felt to me that it was just the right time if I was going to try to do something at home. That with the age I was still young enough to take on something quite big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, and then you both came back to the UK, you met each other, you fell in love, and now you are spreading the wisdom you gathered over the years. How did that unfold, and what's the journey there, and where are you like now at?
Well, I think the wisdom, the main wisdom, some of the main wisdom that you came back from from Borneo with was the importance of land, the value of land.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing that initiated Dan finding some land back here in the UK. So I was still in New Zealand, I think, at that time. Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah. So when I got back, I thought, how cool would it be if I could be like an expedition leader, and then I could go on all these expeditions and get paid to do it. So I started to train as a mountain leader guide, which was a qualification I needed to
Oh,
work
yeah.
for companies. And as part of that, I had to do a lot of orienteering with a map and compass. So I would practice in the countryside here, going on a lot of footpaths which no one would normally walk down, and
All
planning
right.
and I later decided it wasn't for me to be controlling groups of young people because I'm not that kind of person. But I did discover a lovely, completely overgrown piece of land one day with a sign and a telephone number. And I decided I'm going to try to see if I can purchase it. And the
Your
people
own piece of jungle.
and it took quite a long time because I had to keep ringing them every day. They weren't really bothered at first, but because I kept annoying them so much, eventually they said, "Okay, we're selling."
Here, you have the land. I don't want it anymore. Stop bothering me. So you
Yeah,
did a good deal.
yeah, it was yeah, good actually. Yeah, it was much cheaper than if it was advertised through
On
like
the
an
open
estate
market.
agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
Nice.
that's how we found most of the land we have now today.
Yeah.
And you right now have about 3 acres?
Yes, so the initial land was 2.5 acres, and it's completely overgrown. It was completely overgrown with a bush called gorse, which is very spiky with yellow
Oh,
flowers
yeah.
Bramble.
and bramble. Do you have that in Belgium, gorse?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes it goes through my shoe as well. It's very sharp stuff. Um,
Yeah, no.
so that was how it was then. And then how many years later?
Yeah. Well,
We,
then, so Dan had the land for 2 or 3 years, I think, when we met. That was the initial 2.5 acres. And then we met through work. And then about 2 years later, we had the opportunity to buy another half acre, which was attached to the land. Again, another piece that was completely overgrown. But that piece
Cool.
of land was really valuable to us because it had old polytunnel frames on it and an old shed and
Alright.
yeah,
infrastructure that we could recreate that was going to be really valuable for us. And
Cool.
went and bought that piece of land together, like in joint names.
yeah.
Yeah.
So nice that we became a part of it together in that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, that I think that's nice to feel that you own something together, especially like
Mm.
the importance of land. That's like, yeah, it's also important that you both own the land, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt much better than me just owning it. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Yeah, no, of course. And then right now you are really focusing on getting self-sufficient. as self-sufficient as possible? How did that journey go? Like, are you completely self-sufficient now?
We're a good strong 80% self-sufficient in all of our food needs. So that's not just our fresh produce. That is 80% of pretty much our total food needs.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so we do that by mainly eating a plant-based diet. We do now, we've got chickens on the land now as well, so we do now eat our own eggs, but
Huh?
only our own eggs, and that's been really lovely actually to go back to that. But I think because we are eating mainly plants, it makes it a lot easier to be even more self-sufficient on the size land that we have here.
You don't shoot any birds or other things that...
No, we don't. But occasionally
No,
there's a lot
no.
of pheasant shooting happens around here. And so like if we go out for a walk and we've had times where we found a pheasant that has been freshly killed that's not been collected, like
Oh.
we will eat something like that purely because how it aligns with our values more so that we don't think that animals should be killed for no reason. And I do understand that there are certain benefits, nutritional benefits that we can still get from that, like our boil the whole carcass up to make like bone broth and things like that, which which I do appreciate is very nutritious. And I know some people that are vegan or plant-based will probably maybe struggle with that concept, and it wouldn't have been something I'd been comfortable with initially. It's definitely been part of the journey of learning about food and what we need and how it makes us feel, and also just the connection with nature. And I don't want to see an animal die for nothing and go to waste, so I would rather value that in some way.
Also, the roadkill. If we see like, if we see like often in the winter, the pheasants hit almost every day on the road, and if they're still very intact, then often we'll stop and pick them up as well.
Yeah.
He used to do that a lot more, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm not
but it's
so keen on that one.
Even
yeah,
if
no,
you...
I know people who like collect deer. Like in some places you have a lot of deer, and there are a lot of deer that's being killed on the road, and it's like, okay, you can of course nature will also eat it, but like if you want to eat meat anyway or want to feed yourself, and it's like, okay, well, here it is, come and collect it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Funny, there was once a deer killed here and on the road, and I got it and I invited my friends, and we spent the whole day, gutting it and slowly cooking it. And I think the insides had exploded, so it tasted like battery acid. And
yeah, this was before I knew him, thankfully.
Yeah.
So
Oh God.
but
Yeah, that's the risk. That's the risk of that hobby.
Part of the thing, I guess, like you have to get things wrong to learn. It's the best way to learn sometimes. So
oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, but it's funny you mentioned the vegans or vegetarians. Like me myself, I don't eat meat, but I do get it. Like a lot of people I know that are vegetarian or vegan, they live in the city, and they a lot of them don't know nature, and they're like, oh yeah, but killing is bad, and I totally get it, and it's horrible how the meat industry looks like. That's also the reason I don't eat meat. But then if you look to any nature documentary or just witness nature, like they're constantly killing each other. It's the most natural thing there is. So if you live closer to the land and then see that everything is to be eaten and to eat, then I've seen a lot of vegetarians or vegans saying, okay, well, I'm gonna stick to my diet, or I'm gonna respect this way of living, like what you're just describing, or I'm like, if it's that kind of meat, then it's like 100% in line with my values, and I'm never gonna support like cattle and CAFOs and pigs or chickens that never see the light and don't eat food that they are supposed to eat. But that is like almost vegan foods, like vegan meats. It's like, I think as a vegan or vegetarian, you can't be against killing because it's natural, but you can be against exploitation.
Yeah,
I think that's like the most important part.
That's exactly how we feel about it, really. It's more the industry that's the problem. I feel for us now, it's not necessarily that meat has always been bad for us. I feel that it's the volume that we eat and how the meat is raised is the main issue, and that's certainly like the thing that we stand strongest against with it.
Yeah.
But it's been a real big journey going through the sort of veganism and then around a little bit, but the values that it is instilled in us, I would say, has been really profound.
And a
Yeah.
shock for me actually living with the tribes was that how they will kill anything really with no emotion. It's
Okay.
like if they're
Like a cat catching a mouse, just like buff. Like,
yeah, no, it's like that. It's like another, almost like how you would see an animal kill another animal. There's no emotion like that. And I understand now why from growing food here that um, you can't allow, when you're truly trying to be self-sufficient, you can't allow the other animals to eat all of your crops. So they will kill even all the small birds that are trying to eat the rice, um, anything which is going to eat the fruits. It's not destroying it completely in the landscape, but just they will protect their crops. And sometimes people say to us in comments, "Oh, but you shouldn't have the nets on there because you might catch a bird and kill a bird." And
like
it's like,
fruit bushes.
if you want to grow your, if you want to be serious about self-sufficiency,
You do have to protect your crops.
you have to
to
look
a
after your
point,
crops. Yeah.
because that is your element of self-sufficiency, and without that, if you
otherwise you die.
Yeah.
and again, but it's finding the balance, and that's very much what we've seen as our land has expanded and generated over the years. Is we're definitely beginning to see more of a natural balance now, now because the food forest is so prolific, we have so much fruit and berries that now there's enough for everybody, and so we're net certain bushes, like the blueberries, which are really valuable to us. We'll net those, but we'll leave other bushes that we don't net. And some years the birds will take them, but other years they won't. And that's fine. So we kind of, we're becoming part of that balance as well, saying, well, no, this bit's for us, but you can have this bit over here if you need. And, that's really beautiful as well. But until you actually live that life and, maybe you just are a person who loves nature, I understand that you wouldn't necessarily understand that until you're actually in that situation, living it.
You can't judge if you haven't lived in it.
Yeah.
No. And it's very easy for someone who's into conservation to say, "Oh, I see you're planting a lot of non-native plants. That's bad for the local."
What have they eaten yesterday for dinner? Like, was anything native? I don't think so.
Exactly. Almost
Yeah.
every vegetable, all the common vegetables here are non-native that they're eating every day. But also there's the important discussion of actually, if we can grow very productive and fast growing crops, including materials, then it gives us more space to replant the native forest around us.
Yeah.
We need less space.
And that's something that's
nature sparing versus land sparing versus land sharing discussion, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's also something that we try and keep as part of the balance is, so our land here is about 3 acres, but we only grow food on approximately an acre to an acre and a half of that. And the rest of the land is very much wildlife and native woodland, and kind of playground for us both.
Nice.
But we're trying to regenerate parts of the native woodland as well and help support that and very much leave the native woodland as it is. And it's only the areas of this land that were already clear, that had actually been used for grazing in the past, that they're the areas that we've regenerated into growing areas and food forests and the polytunnels. But the piece of land is actually native woodland. We very much try and support that and encourage it.
Of course. How do you get your proteins and carbohydrates? A lot of people like are wondering, well, if you only eat fruits, or if they think about food forests, they think about fruits mostly, and then they say, yeah, but how do you get your proteins? How do you get your carbohydrates?
Well, Dan, one of Dan's passions, once we'd kind of really got into the growing, you got very passionate about all the tuber crops, and so we do grow a lot of a lot of tuber crops. And of course, we grow
For
the
example?
so potatoes, obviously, we do grow the classic white potato, and that does form our main form of carbohydrate
Yeah.
that we grow on the land. But we also grow a lot more unusual tuber crops like yacon, and we grow
Mm,
artichokes and mashua and oca and
Sweet potatoes, for example.
potatoes.
lovely.
And you're also experimenting with taro now.
We've had some good results growing taro, which is normally seen as a more tropical crop. I've
Right,
been
cool.
finding hardy varieties of that. And part of the inspiration behind the growing the tuber crops was that one of the things I noticed in the communities I stayed with is that the bulk of their diets is actually from crops that have tubers underground.
Mm,
So I try to find kind of hardy alternatives to the kind of crops that they would grow, often from high altitudes, from countries where they get a bit of frost, but in tropical areas that would grow
yeah,
here in our
Mm.
country.
yeah,
So
cool. For example, the taro, you harvest it and then you probably have to overwinter it indoors and then replant it in
Yes, so the taro is hardy to about -5. So I had some last year that did grow back again that I
Ooh,
missed in the ground.
yeah, that we
So
put in the
it's
ground.
oh,
quite,
that's nice.
but for best results, because it needs quite a long season, it's better if you can um, put it in the greenhouse, put it in some paper or something, and start it a bit earlier. Like the sweet potatoes, we'd start those in maybe March,
Pretty
start growing
much,
them
yeah.
and plant out straight away after the frost.
Yeah, so grow them on under cover initially,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
plant them out once the last sort of frost date has passed.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. And proteins, what's your biggest protein source?
So, obviously now, as I mentioned earlier, we do have chickens. We've got 7 chickens, and they are providing more than enough eggs that we can eat. And give to our family as well.
Yeah,
But before that, the chickens have actually only been a new addition this year. So our main form of protein before that, and which is still a huge part of our diet now, is beans, dried beans. So we grow a
yeah.
lot of beans for drying, and beans are an amazing protein source, and they're so fun to grow. Like there's so
Mm,
many different varieties and colors and sizes, and you can have so much fun with them. And so, yeah, we grow quite a few different varieties. We dry them really well and we shell them, and they
yeah,
store really well. And so there's a little bit of a process in having to soak them and then cook them. And but it's actually great because
that's
they need
okay.
because they need
Mm,
rehydrating. It actually makes them easier to store because they take up,
yeah,
a jar that's
less
say
space.
this
Yeah,
big will end up giving you this many beans once you've rehydrated them. So yeah,
Mm.
beans are an amazing crop, and yeah, we grow lots of different beans, and that's our main plant-based protein source.
And it was interesting for me that after quite a few years of being vegan, um, I lost quite a bit of weight because I had a
mhm.
bit of fat before. And
Mm.
Not much.
no, and I was concerned maybe am I after how many years were we doing it before the chickens? Was it
Oh, at least 6 years.
so after 6 years, I decided I'll go to get a blood test, a full blood
Yeah.
test from the doctor. And it turned out that actually I had no deficiencies.
Yeah,
Wow, good for you.
Yeah,
Nice.
everything was good.
mainly thanks to Laurie's great cooking. She always makes
Nice.
So I think
yeah,
that's actually one of the other really important elements to the self-sufficiency. It's creating food from scratch.
Yeah.
If you don't create food from scratch, then being self-sufficient is going to be very difficult. And so there is a huge commitment involved in that.
mm,
But it's much like we were just talking about the meat industry, unfortunately for us, that's become a realization that if you actually want to know what you're putting into your body, really the only way to do that is through growing it yourself, or at least
mm.
knowing the sources where you're
Yeah.
getting your food from. And so again, that's been a huge part of our journey and why we've basically ended up doing what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is the realization of the damage that the systems are doing, all the big corporate systems are doing to our food system. Yeah, but it's a big commitment, but it's beautiful, and the connection that you get through going through the full cycle of starting the seed, tending the plant, harvesting the plants, the connection you get from harvesting. That's something that Dan's actually really connected with this year, and then creating it into a meal, like the satisfaction level for then when you eat that meal. And I believe for that reason, the nutrition is so much better. I mean, there's many reasons why the nutrition is better. It's fresher, you know how it's been grown, no chemicals. But I think there's a whole mental process involved in that as well. You know, yeah, next level. It's like I couldn't go back now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did your definition of freedom change over the years? From when you started in UK, went on your hero's journey, came back. How did it transform?
I think for me, I've realized my definition of freedom is actually a large part of it is my belief system in my head. Because although I'm living within a system which is quite oppressive and I disagree with, the responsibility is with me to try to free myself mentally from that and say I'm free. I am myself free.
It's a
Um,
choice.
I don't recognize if I feel that what you're saying to me is unjust or unlawful, in my opinion, then I don't see you have authority over me. So I'll do what I think is best anyway.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the freedom of the mind.
Freedom of the mind.
Yeah.
Is that a muscle you can train?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it comes with practice. Definitely comes with practice.
It's very easy to get. I think fear is the most dangerous thing, because once your mind starts spiraling with fear, then everything can fall apart very quickly. So you have to be conscious of yourself and your thoughts all the time, I think, to keep yourself up.
That's a big task, being conscious of your thoughts, because you think so much during even 1 minute.
Yeah. Change, it's a constant roller coaster all day, and you're going to be getting it, you're not going to get it right all the time, and so it's learning the resilience to keep picking yourself back up and getting on track. And that's I guess the freedom is not getting sucked down the rabbit hole of darkness, and just living your life and sticking to your values. And I guess like what we do is our kind of silent revolution. And hopefully if we can inspire a few other people to to take a similar path along the way, then that's really great.
Yeah. And that's cool. You do a lot of work to transmit your knowledge to a lot of people via online channels. We're gonna provide all the links to it in our show notes, so people are gonna be able to just go to foodforestpodcast.com and see all your magnificent things you share.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, so you want to transmit knowledge, of course, but you also want to transmit like this way of living, which is almost like not even almost, it is a philosophy, it's a way of living. How do you make sure that you reach as much people as possible? And I'm also wondering, like, sometimes me personally, even with this podcast, I'm like trying not to only address people that are like already believers, like not trying to preach to the choir, and also make sure that it's not just the people who are already driving a cargo bike, who wear goat woolen socks, we sometimes laugh about, but like as broad as possible, that it doesn't matter, even if you have a corporate job, even if you're a capitalist, even if you're left, even if you're right, even if you're whatever, that the message can come across. Do you think that your way of living is compatible with, or certain elements from it is compatible with every place in society, no matter where you are?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the messages I try and get across about, growing food, for example, is that I understand, and we feel massively privileged that we are able to do this on the scale that we are. Thank you to Dan's foresight years ago, but we understand that not everybody can do that. But like I was just saying to the connection to food, like even if you don't have a garden, you can grow a window box with some lettuce and some herbs, and that would give you, 4 lettuce plants and some herbs will make beautiful salad for you for many, many meals. And you can still have the satisfaction of planting those seeds, tending the seeds, picking the food, and then eating it while it's super fresh in that moment. So you can still create that connection even on a really small scale. And I think that that is really important to share that message with other people, and that, you know, that are maybe living a more mainstream life. And there are also other ways, like, you know, thinking outside the box when it comes to gardening or growing food. If it's something that you've got a spark to do, there are many different ways. It doesn't just have to be through land ownership.
Mm.
You know, there's allotments, there's community gardens, there's, you know, if you've got, inevitably you're going to have older people in your area. Like in the UK, everybody tends to live very close together, and there's so many older people that can't tend their gardens anymore. Like, you know, maybe you can strike a deal to look after somebody's garden and have an area you can grow food. You know, just like how Dan found this land, it
Mhm.
was thinking outside of the box, you know. And so it's not always just black and white, but if you've got that passion, find the way. And there is no set
And
route, but there
yeah,
will be always a way.
I would add to that as well is that on a physical level, what Laurie's talking about, the growing the food and the land itself. But I think on a mental level, the way that we can connect with other people who maybe don't have this direct interest now or are living a different life is that I do believe that all of us as Europeans and maybe many other people around the world, we do all share quite a deep wound from many years, thousands of years of oppression, which is carried through from generation to generation. And there's a feeling of loneliness and isolation, and almost it it can just come out as like just feeling so
Negative.
sometimes bitter or negative,
Mm.
or seeing everyone as the enemy instead of seeing what we have in common. And I think when we can also have like a more of a consciousness of love and care towards each other,
And
I,
acceptance.
I think people naturally become more interested in um, these kind of things as well.
You know, and
Yeah.
yeah, and connecting with nature. Like, even if you're in a corporate job in a city, I think that's the other thing that people can do, is still find that nature connection, and that will potentially begin a journey like maybe ours. And, you know, going for walks in the forest, taking your shoes off, like just hugging the trees, you know, just seeing being in nature. Like, even for me, like the life that we live, still my most peaceful place is going under a tree canopy and just looking up into the trees. And it does something to me, like it completely will re-regulate my nervous system within minutes.
Mm.
And you know, I live
Beautiful.
to nature most of the time, but I can still feel what that does to me within minutes. So, I mean, you know, people that are maybe living a city life but just want to start connecting with nature, like that is such a simple
Yeah.
thing that you can do for yourself.
That's
Mm.
wonderful. And it's scientifically proven that it's good for you. And it's even funny that it proves how disconnected we are from nature, that we need science to prove that nature is good for us.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
can feel it in here.
A lot of people are not ready yet to hug trees. I tried it with several with a lot of different groups out of society, and sometimes people are like, "What the heck are you doing?" So it's that's okay
They've
too,
just got to let go. They've just got to
That, that
let go. The
that's
journey.
okay too. And like in every good movie, there's always a moment which is called the dark night of the soul. It's like where characters of a movie really go into a very deep place. Some worst case, they're thinking about jumping off a bridge, like in Elf, the movie, or like a lot of other movies. Like, okay, now everything is lost, all is lost. Have you ever had that when you came back during the last five years, let's say, that you were together and you were like, oh my
Mm.
God, what the heck are we doing here? Like super desperate.
I think we've been maybe super desperate, but we do, you know, we certainly have moments where it feels too much, like we've taken on too much, or you know, the work, or you know, the job is too big. But certainly for me, I think
Mm.
my dark night of the soul was actually before, when I was in New Zealand. Like that was the low point for me, and then
Mhm.
having to come back, recognize that, build on it. But you know, like personally, we're like, I think I can speak for both of us, like we've still got so much inner work that we're only just scratching the surface. You know, so
Yeah.
maybe that's still to come, but like it's all part of the journey. Like, you know, life is just full of ups and downs, and you've just got to ride those ups and downs and keep bringing yourself back up, and life is never going to be a perfect fairy tale like every day. It's just not going to happen. Like, we have emotions, and you have to experience the sadness and the darkness to be able to experience the joy. So, I think it's really important that you recognize and move through those dark days and your better days, and recognize that both are okay.
Yeah, and also for me, every day is like that. Like when I was living with the tribes, you have moments of complete like overwhelming joy, but also very low points as well.
When you
And
like miss your family, or
I think every day is like that, and especially something that plays on my mind a lot is the problems of the world, and especially the rapid change that we see in Europe at the moment. How our societies are changing so quickly due to government policies, and that has a very big effect on
or
me.
lack of them.
Lack of them, yeah. Um,
Mm.
so on the one hand, it's like creating this almost
Container.
like paradise life, but also being
Yeah.
aware of what's happening it can be difficult
Yeah,
to.
that's probably our biggest challenge, is actually stepping um outside of like the bubble that we create for ourselves, the blissful bubble, and then stepping out into, I guess, what you could call reality, like how you
And
manage.
misery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I call it the wild. When we go out into, the city, I say that's the wild. Yeah. Go
The other way around.
day, like,
Yeah. But I think there you really got a point that you have reality, like you call it, the wild, which is full of very beautiful things, but also full with a lot of misery. And then you have like your little piece of perfect paradise you're creating. And I think the moment you realize that both can exist at the same time,
Mm.
and once you realize that, then possibilities start coming up, and people say, okay, but so like everything is going to shit. But
Mm.
at the same time, this tree is growing and it's giving me
Mm.
more persimmons year after year. So
Mm.
and so you have hell and heaven at the same time, and that's for a lot of people difficult, especially in the beginning, to wrap your mind around that. But
Mm.
once you go into that direction and more people realize that, well, we can create paradise in a less than ideal place, the more people that are going to create it, the more chance that that will become mainstream and it will inspire other people.
And
So
I think
I
that's
think
really,
you're doing a great job and sharing that.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Before we wrap up this podcast, I always ask the question, imagine if you had a magic wand. You could literally do anything with it. What would you do?
Yeah, I've got two things that have come to mind straight away. Go on, you.
Yeah.
I think as a priority, of course, we're all native and indigenous people of this planet, but I would make an absolute priority of protecting and giving the land rights back to all indigenous people who still want to live their traditional life and who are being forced by large companies and the government to have that destroyed. I would give them their rights back to continue their life as they have had and all of their traditional native land. And I would also love to make a priority of remembering, re-educating European people as well, that we too are indigenous
Mm.
people. And
Mm.
I see so many little traits, the way we laugh and the way we have hand gestures, which are exactly the same as the people in the tribes. And it would
Beautiful.
seem to me that that's still there. And
Ah, that's cool.
covering it now, that we just need to clear all of this weight on top of us, and we can live in love again.
Mm.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And mine, well, I've got two, but mine, yeah, would be quite simple compared to that, I guess. And it would be if I could wave a magic wand and just let all beings on earth be happy, would definitely be, and I think if everybody else is feeling love and able to love themselves, like that then resonates out into the rest of the planet, and I believe
Mm.
would heal the planet. And that would kind of then be my second one, if I could wave the magic wand and heal all the damage to the planet that we've done, you know
Mm.
but I think the two go hand in hand, because if we learn to love ourselves, then we will love everything else around us as well.
So healing our planet, healing our souls, indeed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
giving land back to indigenous people. Yeah,
Yes.
no, I think if we would manage to do those things, that would create a lot of positive vibrations, let's say, and also giving land back to the indigenous. They're the true stewards of the land. They're the real guardians. We in our industrial world, we depend on creating medicine. Then we have medicine hunters go to the rainforests and asking the indigenous people, well, what's good against this, what's good against that, and then they know, like, it's like this plant, this plant, this plant, this plant. They know it. Like, we forgot that. Even there are primates that know more about medicinal plants than we do. They know if they, like, even have a wound, what to put against the wound. Like, if you go to a random person in the street, they won't know which plant that they could, like, put on a wound. So
Exactly. It's funny you
yeah.
say that, because I was once with a tribe, and there was a pharmaceutical company that was set up there, and
Oh,
they had
really?
built a shack, and they were getting the indigenous people to collect their native plants and tell them what the uses were. And of course, I'm sure that they probably synthesize that and never
Oh, yeah.
never tell the true story of where they came from. But I've seen that
And
in
Yeah. I think the message there, though, is also that nature actually provides all that we need. You know, it's all there for us, and that's, you know, that's how a lot of these pharmaceutical medicines have come around in the first place. It's all just a form of nature. You know, so it's all there for us. We just need to find that knowledge again.
Yeah. And if I
100.
could add one more thing, Louis, is that as well
You're
as what
holding on to your wand.
as well as what we do here, I also I've got my wand. I'm also I also create music, and I create music on the topics that we've been talking about today, about
Ooh,
remembering who we are, and
nice.
possibly my artist name is Moranti, which is a tree which is threatened in the rainforest of Southeast Asia. It's a beautiful tree, and I find myself in a hard position because there's a local industrial site that has these really big pallets with this beautiful hardwood Moranti, which they've been burning and throwing in the skip. So I have big piles of this beautiful wood, which
Yeah.
is threatened around the world, which I can use for projects. And it makes me so sad that we treat such beautiful resources for things like making pallets for one
Yeah,
use.
just for shipping, you know,
Um,
basically just used to ship things in containers.
yeah,
But yeah, like that's
but that was the inspiration behind the name Moranti. So perhaps you might be able to include the link for my
Yeah,
music, my
definitely.
YouTube channel as well. Would be great.
Definitely. All
Very
right.
much.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Food Forest podcast. Dear listener, I really hope you enjoyed this wonderful couple as much as I did. You can go to foodforestpodcast.com to check out the show notes and the link to the music they're making and all the cool self-sufficiency stuff they're doing. Of course, you can also check the courses we give, the designs we're making, and you can see all the other episodes because we really have a lot of interesting episodes already. Well, thank you so much and see you again next week.
Thank you.